This is Steve Neely, one half of the tag team, the Wild Boys, and Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South, and I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card, Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheik, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Clinton Charisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at stevebowtiebryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and I'm here as always with my brother from the same father and mother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street. What's up, Sheik? You're back.
I'm back. I know everybody missed me, so...
Of course they did, man. Come on.
Of course they did. It may not after they hear this episode. They may be like, "Yeah, good riddance. Let's get rid of him like we did the other guy."
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, no, totally different circumstance. But
anyway.
Dan.
Well, anyway, the cool thing is today we have Steve Neely, one of the Wild Boys, and so we knew ahead of time that Jared was going to be out of town to go on his vacation on a cruise to Bermuda, the Bahamas.
Bahamas, yeah, just the Bahamas.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a second. But having Steve Neely on, I thought, man, I really want to get a co-host. I can do it by myself. That's not a problem. But I thought, man, it would be cool to get a co-host. And I thought about some people, and I was like, that one would be a good one. That one would be, this one. And so I reached out to the other Wild Boy, Ben Jordan, and he was more than happy to oblige. In fact, he might have been a little too happy, it sounds like, but he did a great job in your stead, I promise.
I'm sure he did. I'm a little jealous of the whole thing. It's, I was on a vacation and got a great time, but I also am a little jealous of the fact that you had fear of missing out, man. Yeah. After I met Steve down there at the Right Way reunion, man, it kind of was like, dang, man, you doing this without me? Fine.
Yeah, it just worked out, man. It wasn't. I mean, we had Sunny Street planned, and then you told me about this vacation, and I was like, man, I really don't want to do Sunny without all the streets there.
Can't get the Street family reunion without him.
Exactly. So Sunny Street will be our next episode by hook or by crook if we have to go to him. Or no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, by hook or by crook, we'll have Sunny Street on the next one. But for this one, we have the Wild Boy Steve Neely. Great guy, great conversation. You're going to hear it in just a bit. But first, let's talk about this vacation.
We went on a Disney cruise. It was a short one. We like to go on like a 7-day cruise, but we went on their newest boat, the Disney Wish, and we went to it's a ship. I say boat all the time, but it's a ship. But it's we went to like Disney has their own private island, like every cruise company does. Castaway Key, and then we went to Nassau, Bahamas, and went to the Atlantis water park there. So it was a good time.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's very cool. And so I know when you're on those cruises, you get food and stuff like that. Well, how was the food, man?
It's amazing. It's always good. And all the cruises have good food, but man, I don't know. Disney.
Yeah.
Disney hasn't beat. I told somebody that the last cruise I went on that wasn't Disney. I was like, yeah, Disney's better, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and the kids enjoyed their time?
No, absolutely. One of the cool things happened on the cruise. Little Sheik got to meet one of his favorite YouTube guys on there, just randomly on there. We saw him, and Paxton's like, "Hey, that's Dad City," and I was like, "Well, I've seen the videos before. It kind of looks like him." And sure enough, it was. But it's like Kid City or K City is the name of their YouTube channel. But Paxton met him. He does these things with the wrestling ring. He like shakes like different figures and like whoever lasts the longest and everything like that. And Paxton's always done that since he first started seeing their videos. So it's kind of cool that we got to meet somebody like that.
Yeah, we need to make his own show, it sounds like. Then.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. And then I guess you saw some Disney people and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. We saw some. They have a Marvel-themed restaurant down there that's like basically like an Ant-Man themed restaurant on the boat. And so they have this whole show and everything like that. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly do it, and Anthony Mackie is part of it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Pre-filmed thing. So what is it? Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, she does a part in it too.
Nice. Okay. Nice little thing to watch on the boat. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
So how was the Bahamas?
It was good. Like I said, we went to the Atlantis water park there and we did a little swimming with some dolphins, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
They have this whole they have all these dolphins that are like trained and everything like that, and they'll like push you on a boogie board and everything like that. So kind of cool. Yeah. I was like, can they push my big hind end? And they're like, oh yeah. They're like, these dolphins are like 500 pounds. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Did you pet one? How did they feel?
Oh yeah, they feel like silk. I mean, like almost like silk. Yeah,
really. Very smooth, huh? Very smooth.
Yeah.
Like a baby's bottom, I guess.
Like a baby's bottom, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got somebody here that wants to say hi. So, hey, come to the microphone here. Say hi.
What's up?
No, he needs to say Colossus.
Everybody, that is my son, Cash Street. Or if he were to be a superhero, who would you be?
Colossus.
Yeah. Paisley will listen to this episode 10 times just for that. So
just for that, Paisley is going to listen for the yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, man, that sounds like you had a great time. And I tell you what, I had a great time with Ben and Steve. Very cool time. Of course, our previous episode with me and Mike Woods, man, great response to that. Unfortunately, Mike lost his daughter in a horrible tragedy, and we're just sending out our prayers and thoughts to you, Mike. We're so sorry, man, that you went through that, and then Ricky Morton's son passed away. It's just, man, just a really bad time. But Mike, man, our prayers are for you and with you, brother. And go listen to his episode. It was excellent. Had a lot of fun. A lot of people really responded to that one, and hope y'all enjoyed it. And today we've got Steve Neely with very special guest co-host Ben Jordan. So I say we bring him on. What do you say?
Hey, let's get to it.
All right, we'll be right back with the Wild Boy, Steve Neely, and a very special guest co-host, Ben Jordan, on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
This is Kroll, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street and Jared the Plastic Sheik. Be sure to like, subscribe, and view all of our USWO and Saw Wrestling content at Nashville Wrestling Network, exclusively on YouTube.
Saturday, July 20th, 6:30 p.m. in Murfreesboro, New USWO Wrestling is back with our next big event. And oh boy, is it going to be a banger. This night will be a special benefit for the family of Hot Rod Biggs. Main evented by the Battle of TNA Originals Cowboy James Storm and David Young, featuring a Legends match with Steve and Shane Morton, teaming with the Wild Boys Ben Jordan and Steve Neely, with Geraldine Morton in their corner, taking on their arch rivals, the Great Mephisto. and Dante with Forsaken and Corey Cruz and Cannibal Lecter. USWO Tag Team Champions Colby Carter and Damian Wayne will defend against Jeremiah Plunkett and Mean Mike Woods. LT Falk and Chris Crow will lock horns in a battle for a shot at USWO Heavyweight Champion Tyler Thorne, who is the real Saw champion, as Sean Hurley defends against the self-proclaimed champion, Majestic. Cousin Condrey faces the juggernaut John Irons. Taven Jordan challenges USWO Television Champion Brandon Wolf with Cool Cat Taylor. Drew Weatherby LBK, and Kevin Weatherby in three-way singles action. Also appearing as part of the live meet and greet at 5 p.m. will be local legends Booty Call with the Goddess Athena, Yukon Jack, Tony Falk Hammerjack, with over 40 top stars from the past and present set to appear live at the Armory in Murfreesboro. Tickets on sale now at oswotix.com. Front row only $20, general admission only $15, under 5 free with paid adult.
All right, we are back with Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, and man, oh man, see, normally I'm throwing to the Plastic Sheik right now, and I'm saying, Sheik, what a great show we have today, but this is actually an extra special episode today. Not only do we have our guest, one half of the Wild Boys, Steve Neely. Thank you, Steve, for coming on, brother.
Yes, sir.
But we also have, as special guest host, to fill in for the Plastic Sheik while he's down in the Bahamas or whatever, Mr. Ben Jordan, the other half of the Wild Boys. Ben, thank you for coming on and helping me out with this one today, brother.
Jimmy, thank you for having me. And, I appreciate that Jared took a vacation. That's some big shoes to fill. But you know what? They feel pretty comfortable, and he might have a hard time getting me out of them.
The gauntlet has been thrown down.
I hope that trip to the Bahamas, I hope it was worth it.
That's awesome. I love it. Yes, we're fired up early. Well, that's awesome. Well, I tell you what, Ben, since you are taking the Sheik's role today, I'm going to let you start with his question. Do you know what that one is?
Okay, Steve, we're going to start you off with, could you give us your Mount Rushmore of the wrestlers that you grew up watching and idolized?
All right. So I guess since I'm by myself on this one, I'm going to go singles.
Okay.
Obviously, the top one of probably most of anybody my age is Jackie Fargo.
Yeah.
Great.
Man, there were just so many, and I'm going to mention one. He did end up making it WCW, but I always liked the way he worked, Bobby Eaton.
Oh, the best.
Beautiful Bobby.
Yep. Oh, man, from there, let's see. Man, there's just so many.
Yeah.
Tommy, believe it or not, and I got to work Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich is one. He was one that when he came in town, was pretty popular.
Oh, yeah.
It was just so many, man. I think it's too many to name four. My top two would definitely be Jackie Fargo and Bobby Eaton.
Man.
Steve, I'd like to interject a little bit. You've probably got a couple of local guys that would probably be on your Mount Rushmore also.
Oh, sure. I was thinking back more like when I was a kid, but, growing up watching. But actually, I mean, you put Tommy Higgy up there with any of them. And
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
But, I mean, man, all the Devils. Butto, Rick Reynolds, Cool Breeze. I mean, they of course, they was all my very respectable list that I respected one of the most in the business. Man, and the local guys is what carried, and I'm not going to say carried us. I think we was all part of a good show, but it was a good show. It was a good card. So, thank all of them. I mean, yeah. Get you a big rock. We need a big Mount Rushmore.
Start chiseling. I love it. No, that's a good. Hey, that's the thing about this question. A lot of people take it like they have to name the one that everybody thinks. And I appreciate that you went personal with it because, man, I think Tommy Heggie belongs on every Mount Rushmore. If you want my opinion, you know what I mean. That's just how much I think of him as well. So I think that was a good choice. And man, anytime Bobby Eaton can be brought up, is just the greatest. Have you worked him before, Steve?
Never really worked him. Me and Ben got to do something with him at the end of a match a couple years ago. Well, probably 4 or 5 years ago in Lewisburg, and he wasn't working at the time. He just came in at the end for a kind of a false finish type deal, but that was it. I mean, that was the only thing I ever got to do with him.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Well, now I'm going to pivot to this question. So, Steve, I've heard so much about your high school days as the sports stud of the area and the state. But tell me about your younger days. Like, where were you born and where'd you go to high school and stuff like that?
I was born in Nashville, Tennessee. Grew up in Pegram, Tennessee.
Okay.
Which is just west of Nashville. Went to high school at Harpeth High School in Kingston Springs, which is just right down the road from Pegram. It's all the same school, all the southern end of the county.
Yeah. Okay. And tell me all about this sports career.
Well, man, I don't know. I've always loved sports, and I can go back when I was a kid, and actually Ben's brother is the one who really got me into sports a lot.
Okay.
Hanging out over there, and something me and him clicked. And I think it had to do when I found out we had the same birthday, stuff like that. You know what I mean? He was older, and you look up to those people, and he was a Miami Dolphins fan, so I guess I'm going to be a Miami Dolphins fan.
Yeah.
So I started loving football and baseball, and then that's when I got into like really paying attention to sports. Started playing, of course, in youth. Come up to high school, and it worked out. It just worked out for me.
Yeah. Now tell me, like, what was your favorite sport to play? What do you think you were best at?
My favorite sport to play is football, no doubt in my mind, 100%. My best sport, that if I ever had a future in, would have been baseball.
Okay, what did you play in baseball?
I was a pitcher mainly.
Okay.
And
awesome.
I wasn't pitching. I just played wherever they needed me.
Yeah. Did you have some nasty stuff?
Not really. Fastball and curveball is all I had.
Okay. Yeah.
But for our little league, we were a little single A school. I threw pretty hard, so didn't have to have much.
Yeah.
If you could throw pretty hard, you pretty much could dominate our district.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what was the fastest pitch you ever threw?
Never had a gun on me. I got there late one day to a practice after football practice, and they clocked one of our pitchers at 92, and they said, guessing on the back and forth, it was probably around 92, 93, 90, somewhere in the low to mid 90s.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, man. I think I can't imagine. I think I got clocked at 70 one time at the Nashville Sounds booth. Right. So I was happy with that, but golly.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So, okay. So in football, did you also play basketball and wrestle too?
We didn't have a wrestling team. Like I said, we was a small school and fairly new. I was probably the third or fourth graduating class from that school.
Wow. Okay.
But I did play basketball. I really wasn't that good. I was a football player that played basketball. I fouled out a lot.
Yeah.
But it was just something. It was something to do just because it's between football and baseball. You know what I mean? You'd be bored if you didn't do something. So
might as well, right? Yeah. That's awesome, man. Go ahead, Ben. What were you going to say?
No, Steve. Don't sell yourself short on the football. I believe you hold a few records at Harpeth High School, right? Football.
Yeah, I got a couple still. Top 5 in several. Still hold a couple. So,
what did you play in football?
I was running back.
Nice. I think I remember hearing that. Yeah. So, what are the records you hold? Come on, this is your time to brag a little bit.
All right. So I know for a fact one I hold is the all-time leading rusher.
Okay.
And that's mainly because I started as a freshman. I got started as a freshman, so total touchdowns, I'm not sure if I'm still in the lead or not. I think I had like 52 to 55, something like that. I don't know if I'm still at the top of that or if I'm 2 or 3.
Yeah, okay.
Most touchdowns in the game. I think I might have failed a second. I'm not sure, with 4. That's about all I can remember, really. I mean, we didn't throw the ball a lot, so it was mainly running. So
run game. Yeah. That was the high school coach that I didn't play football, but I would always talk to him in biology, and he was always talking about if you can establish a good run game, you can control the whole ball game. So
absolutely. And for some reason, my senior class, they all started as first off the line.
Yeah.
And we had one of the biggest offensive lines in the state. They were just huge. So it was easy run behind them guys.
Yeah. It's like you're feeling like Derrick Henry out there, right?
Absolutely.
As we always go, so you're obviously talking about your younger days right now. When did you start liking wrestling?
Oh, man, probably as long as I can remember. 4, 5, 6 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember my aunt would carry me to the fairgrounds. I remember going to the old women's building where I started going. Then it moved over to the sports arena, and that's where I would see Ben sometimes.
Okay.
So he would go up there and sit up against the one wall. And me and her, sometimes mine and Ben's cousin between us, would sit over on the other wall. But I'm gonna say at least 5 or 6 years old I was going.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. I'm sure you still remember the smell of the place now, don't you? It's just
absolutely.
Popcorn, cigarettes, probably. Yeah. Man, there's something so magical about that fairgrounds. There's something that, I mean, you can almost feel like it's not haunted in a bad way. It's like haunted in a good way. You know what I mean? And when you got to see wrestling there, it felt like, and I know the stories, it was built for wrestling, but when you got to see wrestling there, you felt like, man, I'm somewhere right now. And I can't imagine, you know, and we'll get into this later, but I can't imagine what it felt to actually end up wrestling there, you know? So
the only thing that I would have liked when we did wrestle there, I'd have loved for them to let people smoke in there, because that's what you remember the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Lights go down. You got the light above the ring, and it's just foggy with smoke, full of smoke. And I know it's probably bad for everybody's health, but I thought that'd been pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Back in those days.
Yeah. Just throw on some woolies and some shooter boots, and you'll be right in there, man.
Steve, you know, about the smoke, I got in on the tail end of that, and there was smoke in the building when I first started wrestling there. And Sunday morning, waking up, you couldn't talk. Throat was sore, and but I got the full effect of that, Steve. So
I can imagine. I didn't say I'd want to do it all the time, but one time would have been kind of neat.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I can imagine feeling the next day. You get in there and get blowed up. You're sucking even more wind, so you're just sucking it more down. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve, now I know you approached me about getting into wrestling. What's your earliest memory? Because me and you, it's been a few years. And what's your earliest memory, and when did you see me and then think, I'm going to go to him and ask him to train me? Do you remember
my earliest memory of going to wrestling, or my earliest memory of wanting to be one? Or
when you wanted to be one, and then when I entered the picture, what did anything trigger you at that point to, hey, I'm going to go ask Ben to train me?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say the earliest memory I had, being with you was part of this too. Me, you, and little Paul and Chuck Caldwell and all them would build a ring in the back with some hose pipes and stuff, all kinds of good stuff, mattresses and all that. So as a kid, y'all, but you never had a way in. Back then it was a tight business. Not anybody could just get in.
Yeah.
And then when you started wrestling, little Paul started coming around more, and he was like, "Let's go watch Ben wrestle." So I did, and I'm like, this might be my avenue. I'm not going to say long after we started coming watching you, that's when I started thinking more about it, saying, okay, this might be my avenue to actually get in.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because I was wondering, because, it'd been a few years you were in high school. I was actually coming to watch you play football. And me, I would wait around at the fence to see Steve Neely when he come off the field or when he got out of the locker room, and I'd wait. And then finally I'd ask for you, and they said, oh, he's done left. So I didn't see you for several years there, and then you show up at the fairground. So
yeah. Well, if I'd have known you'd have been at a football game, we'd have got to hanging out earlier. Maybe we'd have started our career a few years earlier.
Yeah, come on, Ben.
Maybe. Well, I was there.
I didn't know he was there. He has told me that story before. They're like, yeah, I'd come watch you play football, and I'd wait on you. But I never knew. I never knew he was there.
I was just trying to get a glimpse of the great Steve Neely, the running back from Harpeth. We'd read about him in the papers, and it's like, well, the game's Friday night, so I'm going to Harpeth.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, was it cool to watch him play, Ben? I'm sure.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, I played football, but I had to work at it. But Steve was a natural. You hand him the ball, and the next thing you know, there he goes tearing out down the field, And like you said, he had a good line. And once they opened that hole up, Steve would shoot through it, and he was just touchdown. So it was great. And I'm like, that's Steve. That's my boy.
Y'all make me feel too good. Give me chills.
So training with Ben was your next step then, right? How did that start?
Well, when I finally talked to him about it, and he finally agreed to do it. And he didn't agree right off the bat. he kept trying to put me off, and I get it. Now I definitely get it. You don't want everybody in the business doing the same thing you do. So when he finally decided to train me, he took me, started training me, and showed me the good basics where I wouldn't get hurt. And then he beat the crap out of me, tried to run me off.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. I mean, he's never trained anybody like me. I will say that. I've seen some of them. He knows that. So I'm not saying anything he don't know, but
that's right. And really, I tried to run Steve off. I didn't want him in the business, but the thing about it is, we got to hanging out from training, out more and more, and I'm like, I couldn't run him off. So then we became good buddies, and it went on from there.
Yeah. Now, what was the reason you didn't want him in? Was he just such a sports athlete stud that you were like, oh man, No. What was your reason?
It wasn't that. I mean, he's way better athlete than I am, and teaching him to wrestle was so easy. But I'm like, I'm gonna see if he's got what it takes. I'm gonna see how tough he is, and so I really put it to him, and I'm like, if he ain't got what it takes, he don't need to be in it. And then too, like Steve said, you don't want everybody that you know. That's my thing. Hey, in the family, everybody knows me. Hey, there's the wrestler, So I didn't want everybody taking what I had.
I see. Purely selfish. I see.
It was. It's like I was starting to get around pretty good as a singles, and I was like, no, I don't want nobody encroaching on my turf, because you know what? Actually, Steve's a better athlete. Steve outshined me all day long, so it's like I'm running his ass off. Yeah. But he hung in there and he took what I gave him, and he made it, and I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
It worked. It worked out for us. So.
It worked out in the end, right? So, and then your first match, where was that, and who was that with? I think I know this answer, but
Gary Scott.
Okay.
I think he was still Gary Scott at that time.
Okay.
I think it was in Smyrna for Terry Rice.
Okay.
I think so. And I would go ahead and tell you my second one too. It was with Gary Scott, and it was for Joe Cagle. Now I don't remember where this was. I wasn't even booked on the show. Of course, you're always taught, make sure you always got your stuff with you. Somebody didn't show up, and Joe threw me in there with Gary. So that was my second match.
And how was it working with Gary so early? Did you know Gary previously to the business?
Well, yeah, because I would ride the roads with Ben.
Okay.
Sell his gimmicks, while I was training and all that good stuff. And
okay.
Kind of getting a lot of road knowledge, even though I wasn't even smartened up yet, So
yeah.
And Gary was a part of that. Gary was on the road sometimes with him and at the shows with him. So yeah, I knew Gary, and he probably even came and trained with me some later on, towards the end.
Yeah, Steve. All right, everybody knows like the formation of the Wild Boys, and everybody's heard my story on it, my take on it. Let's get a Steve Neely perspective on how it all began and what you thought and how it went for you. Let's hear your story on it.
Well, I remember going through trying having those couple of matches, and of course, me and you was hanging out. We was putting down a couple middle lights here and there, and I think I just asked you one day, but what about being a tag team? And you probably mulled over it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit, and you said, okay. I got the name, I got the song, and if we're going to do it, this is the spot we want. I didn't know what spot you was talking about because it was with the Devils, so I didn't know what I was getting my butt into. But but it worked out, and that's really about all I can remember on that. Like I said, I remember me and you talked about. I remember I brought it up. I'm the one that brought it up. And,
okay.
And you finally agreed to it, and you already had the name. You had the song. I think he even probably had the outfits he was wanting us to wear.
Yeah.
Even that time, I was not into the trunk deal. I was more into the shorts. But you had the trunks, I had the shorts, but they were matching. So
sure, yeah.
Yeah, and early on, Steve, I just, you were my trainee. I just took the bull by the horns and said, "Here, we're going to do this if we're going to take it." And I pretty much run the show and told you how it was going to be, and we did it. You looking in on it. Was that okay with you, or were you thinking maybe we should do something else, or what's your perspective?
I was 100% okay with it.
Yeah.
That didn't bother me a bit. The way I was looking at it, I was green, and the one thing you taught me was keep your damn mouth shut. You go in the locker room, you shake everybody's hand, and you keep your mouth shut, and you do what you're told. And not saying that that's the way you've done it, but you did take the lead on that, and you took the lead on all the bookings and all that. And it was working with you. I had to be committed because you would take a booking on a Thursday night in Mississippi or Kentucky. It didn't matter. We just had to be there.
Yeah.
And I was okay with you taking the lead on that. That don't bother me not one bit whatsoever.
Okay. And I know later on, and Jimmy, if I'm moving too fast, let me know. But midway through, and too many Miller Lights later, a little more out of shape, and we're getting older and a little slower, and it was time for the turn. And when we turned, I pretty much turned the reins of the tag team over to you and let you have a lot more decision making and pretty much call the shots. And I didn't have a problem with that. But what was your perspective on that end of it?
Before you answer that, Steve, are you saying that Steve is better at being a natural heel? Is that what you're trying to say here, Ben? Because I want you to clarify that, because here's the thing. I think Steve's a pretty nice guy. Why are you telling me he's a bad guy?
I think he really enjoys being a heel. Yeah, I'm more a natural baby face.
Okay.
I enjoy the heel, but this ain't about me. It's about Steve Neely.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
And I really think, I think he really enjoyed being the heel. So you tell us.
I really did. The heel was I ain't gonna say my favorite part, because we had good runs as baby faces, but probably as far as the psychology of the business, being able to tell a story. As baby faces, the heels always told the story. They called the match, and when we got that opportunity, then it was kind of like, hey, here we go. Let's see what kind of mind I have.
So to kind of keep going with this, I'm not going to stop anything. I like this conversation right here. What do you feel like your opportunities had ran out as baby faces, or was it simply just time to make a switch? Because and I guess, where were y'all looking as baby faces? Because personally, I think y'all are one of the most, I would say, underrated tag teams that I've ever seen or watched. But also, I felt like you all, as baby faces, had such it was like, I feel like you all could have wrestled anywhere. And I mean on top. I don't mean like, putting guys over like you would do up in WWE or you in WCW, Steve. I felt like you guys could have or should have been a top running tag team. Tell me, I guess, before you turn heel, where were you at? Like, okay, maybe we can't go that way anymore, if you can.
Well, I think it was more, first of all, I appreciate you saying that.
Yes, sir.
I think it was more, even though we wasn't as out of shape as what we thought we were.
Okay.
So, and just like, I get you, once you see the same thing over and over, not the same thing, but like you see the same people over and over and over, crowd kind of gets used to you. You don't get the pop you used to get. And
right.
You don't get into your matches like they used to. And then I think that's just kind of when you see, hey, maybe a change of pace will do us good. And I think it did. I think we could have stayed baby faces. I don't think that would have messed our career up any or put tarnish on it or anything. I don't think that would have happened, but it was just kind of like a new perspective.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, we got some pretty good heat tonight we turned. So it was, and I guess that's because we was over,
Yeah, you definitely were, and to have a turn like that probably shocked quite a few people too, I'm sure.
Oh, well, let me tell you. I'll tell you the quick story about how we turned.
Please.
We actually done it over 2 weeks, and the one thing I can honestly say about the Wild Boys tag team, we've never turned on each other, we've never worked each other, we've never fought each other. We're pure as gold as far as that. So
yeah.
So when we turned, Ben actually turned on James Storm in Columbia.
Okay.
I was in the back. I made the save. Ben run out, blah, blah, blah. So we're sitting up next week, Wild Boy versus Wild Boy. James Storm was my partner. I forget who Ben's partner was. So we had the match, the whole match. Me and Ben never touched one another. Never, not even locked up, pulled hair, nothing. And at the end of the night, when it was time to screw James Storm, I turned on James Storm. It's like it was a plan from the get-go.
Okay.
So we planned the whole thing. And
nice.
They was mad at Ben the week before. Then the week I done it, they was really mad at both of us.
Yeah, yeah. And what better guy to turn on than that babyface James Storm at that time, man? Every story I hear about him at that time, somebody is kicking his ass. That guy took a whooping, man. So, so to pause a little bit on the Wild Boys, I want to jump to you going to WCW some. Now I know we had the Wild Boys and one of my favorite episodes of the Wolfie D podcast. We had the Wild Boys on, and we talked about this a little bit, Steve, with the Ming match. Obviously wasn't much of a match. It was just him whooping you real good. But you also worked Sergeant Craig Pittman too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So talk about, I guess, getting to WCW and then working those matches.
Well, JD Wolf's the one who got me booked there, I believe.
Okay.
And at first, I'd say a couple months before that, I don't remember if he was trying to get Ben to go, and Ben was going to WWF, and Ben said, well, hell, take Steve. And I wasn't big enough. That was always the thing. Steve ain't big enough. Yeah. And I don't know what happened or what changed or what turned, but they did call Rip Rogers called, and so I went down there with that for him. I think JD put my name in with Rip Rogers.
Okay.
And that's how I got the call. And I went with Larry Valentine. Me and Larry Valentine went together.
Okay. And how was it when you got there?
It was kind of different in a way. Just guys that I don't know. It was a locker room that I didn't know. I didn't know anybody. I knew Larry, and that was it.
Yeah.
But that's back when Hogan and Savage and all them had come in, and
yep.
It was almost like they had their own little dressing room, but they kicked everybody else out over in our dressing room. Steve Austin, Harlem Heat, Buff Bagwell, and all them. They had to dress with us, so they wasn't allowed over there with those guys.
Oh, man.
I mean, that was kind of the guys you do see on TV. They're actually sitting there dressing with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Ric Flair does have his own dressing room. He's a star. In my opinion, one of the best wrestlers ever to step foot in the ring. But He actually come over down with us and talk to, just us job guys. He asked how we was doing and if everything was okay, if we needed anything.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. I know that we had Gator McAllister on the podcast, and he was telling a story when he went down there that some of the guys would say, all you need to do is write your name on this list and hide, and they'll pay you. Think think you were. Did you know anything about that? Was that a thing? Did anybody tell you that as well?
Well, when I went, there was no list for me to sign.
Okay.
Until I got my match.
Okay.
The second night in Atlanta on the TV tapings, they come out with a card. My name wasn't on the card. I knew if I didn't work, I still got paid because I was there. My name wasn't on that card. Heck yeah, Larry's on early. We're going to get out of here. We're back in Nashville by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I get paid. I didn't know the second card come out, and I was on the second card, so we ended up staying there at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. How was working Sergeant Craig Pittman? How was working him?
It was pretty good. He was more of a shoot style wrestler, so he didn't really call nothing. He didn't set nothing up. He just kind of went out there and took control, and you had to know how to follow him. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it was easy. It wasn't like he cranked on me or anything. It was easy. Didn't get hurt. It was just I had to pay attention to follow. I almost couldn't enjoy it as much because I had to pay attention to what his next move was.
Right. Okay. And then, of course, the Ming match happened, or if you want to call it a match, it was just a beat. You didn't even get your jacket off, right?
No, I really think that was my idea.
Okay.
I went over and talked to actually Arn Anderson. He called me over there to sit with him and Ming. They was like, man, we're going to build him up, make him a strong, just put him over big. I said, that's great. Whatever he wants to do. And I told him, I was like, I can bump. He was wanting to end with a super kick. I said, I'll take a big backdrop. I said, I can take a good big backdrop and I'll feed up into it. He goes, that's perfect. And I said, whatever you want to do, you're the star. And about 30 minutes later, Arn Anderson calls me back over there. He goes, well, we're going to change it. Don't let him kick you. I'm like, hell, that's okay with me too. But I think me telling him you're the star, I'll do whatever you want to do. Which, okay. I mean, hell, me can do whatever he wants to do anyway. I can't stop him. But I think me telling him, I'll do whatever you want. And I think they looked at that as an opportunity to say, I just let him kick him and be done.
Yeah.
How much stronger can you look, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the job you're doing right there, and that's very cool, man. So did you get any more was there any more opportunities for WCW after that you turned down, or?
I don't remember any.
Okay.
I don't remember. I really don't remember getting. I don't ever remember turning it down. I wouldn't have turned it down because they would get paydays.
Yeah.
Okay. And that may have been around about the same time they started putting more competitive matches on TV.
Yeah.
And the jobber kind of just went away.
I don't
know if that was right about that same time or not, but I never went back. That was the only 2 times I went.
Okay, gotcha.
Steve, you described our turn in Columbia, which was one of our big towns. Now, another big town for us that we were really over in was Nashville, Tennessee, for Power Slam for Terry Rice, and those shows were packed out. But then Burt Prentice come along, and we were working for him, and we had to turn. For Burt, they wanted us to be heels, and we were the big faces in Nashville. Can you describe how we turned and that little period there?
Ben, I'm gonna disappoint you. I can't. I don't remember. I don't remember how we turned in Nashville, to be honest.
Okay. I'll give you a little hint. They took us out there, and the crowd were cheering us. We walked out, and Bert was going to interview us, and we had to do what I call a cold turn.
We
were baby faces. We were baby faced when we walked in the building, walked out on the microphone, and just had to turn on the mic. Didn't lead up to nothing. Yeah.
Oh man.
You remember
that? He brought us in as heels. But we got a pop when we come out because of the Nashville thing. You're right. I do remember that. We had to do a cold turn.
Yeah.
Was we blonde at that point? Or did we go blonde after that?
We went blonde after that.
Okay. Blonde is a great heel hair, right? Come on.
Absolutely.
Tell them what the look we were looking for, Steve.
Please.
The blonde.
Was it the rock and roll RPMs? Is that right?
A lot like them, and we wanted that 1970s trailer park blonde look.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we had the black goatees. We had the bleach blonde hair and the black goatees.
And it even looked better when the dark grew in the middle. When the roots grew out.
Absolutely.
The roots started showing. Of course.
Yeah, that was the best.
So do you all have any funny Burt stories? I mean, especially Steve, do you anything about Burt? I know we all know the infamous Burt Prentice,
Yep. I'm going to say probably the funniest story I got. It wasn't funny at the time. It ended up being funny later. He was doing TV at Grand Slam, at the Armory in Nashville.
Yeah.
And he was paying us, what we were getting paid everywhere else. And one night we got an envelope. We get out to the car. Opened it up. It's a $10 bill in it with a sticky note. And it said, from now on, TV will pay $10. So me and Ben said, well, don't put us on TV. We don't want to be on TV. We don't care nothing about it. So what became funny about it, I think we ended up actually maybe quit. No, I can't remember. We left him for a while, some period in there, and he called us back. And that's when they was filming at the fairgrounds. And we would come out the thing, and Ben would look over the cameraman and say, shut the damn camera off. We're not working for $10.
That's right.
That's probably the fun. That was probably the fun. Like I said, it wasn't funny at the time. We was pissed. We went out there and did our job, and he gave us $10.
Yeah, man.
But later on, Ben always let us out of the dressing room. He was always first one out.
Yeah.
And the first thing he did was the cameraman and said, shut the damn camera off. We ain't working for $10.
That's right.
What did they say?
Hey, here was the deal. We always got our full pay. Yeah. And of course, and I'll let Steve tell about when we left, and we pretty much we let all the other guys know what we were getting paid.
We threw them under the bus. I don't feel they was treating us right, really. Yeah. And we was at a dark time, really, in our professional career. Yeah. Never drank before the shows, but doing them, we just almost had to.
Yeah.
And when we finally just, we've had enough. We said we quit. We pretty much told the boys, hey, we're getting full pay. and walked out the door.
yeah, and cause everybody was doing the $10 deal, and we're like, no, guys, we've been getting paid the whole time. Yeah.
Who were some of the guys working there?
The one I remember, honestly, the one guy I remember is Chris Michaels.
Okay.
Chris and Todd was working together. I forget what their name was, but
yes, Far Too Wild, wasn't it?
Far Too Wild, yeah, that was.
Yeah, and we smartened them right as we went out the door from quitting. We're like, hey, we're getting our full pay, and we've been getting it, and y'all haven't.
Yeah, he's the one I remember because he was the one mad that night too. Me being a Chris in the parking lot mad that we got $10 on a sticky note.
Yeah.
Chris took it, which we know, it's the wrestling business. We worked our own deal. We talked to Bert and told him we're not working for $10.
Now, was the whole working for other people a deal back then already? Did they had that started? Like they didn't, Porter and Bert not liking you to work for other folks?
Well, when we went to started working for Bert, we was in Columbia. We was a mainstay in Columbia.
Sure.
And he kept wanting, he said, we got Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. We're like, well, we can't work Saturday. First, third, and fifth Saturdays of every month, you can't book us. And he asked us why. We say, well, it's Columbia. It's our town. That's, we're going to do that show. And he tried the whole time to get us to leave Columbia. We never would. He never could understand why we would stay in Columbia. It didn't matter who was running, whether it was Willie, Paul, Freddie. I think Freddie was out by then, but no matter who run it. And eventually, Bert and Mike kind of took over Columbia, so they got us on Saturday nights anyway. But
that was their whole reason for going to Columbia, was to get the Wild Boys. I love it.
Well, I say that we say that they tried to cut our pay again, and we actually left.
Yeah,
and we left, and the guy that owned the building, his name's Mickey. He went to him and said, "I want the Wild Boys here."
Yeah.
And of course, Bert didn't want it. And I think Mickey pretty much told him, well, if they're not here, y'all don't have a show.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting. I think he was upstairs, if I ain't mistaken, Ben.
You're right. You're exactly right.
It was me and Ben and Mickey, Mike Porter and Bert Prentice.
Yeah. Was that Mickey McNeil? Was that who that was?
Mickey McKeel.
Mickey McKeel.
So
yeah.
we threw out a number. Hey, it's what it's going to take to get us here.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it. And Mickey pretty much said, yeah, they're here.
Yeah.
So we were back.
Yeah. And we did that. We did that package deal to where we got Nashville and Columbia. Both. Had to be on both. And we had to get paid the same.
That's
both.
Awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome. Oh, man.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Gene Jackson here, inviting you to join us for the Retro Wrestling Review Podcast, where each week I'm joined by guest co-host to review and discuss old school pro wrestling. Right now we're doing week-by-week reviews of USWA Memphis from 1993. We have an audio version of the podcast as well as a video version if you want to check out the clips of the show we're talking about. It's a lot of fun, so for this and a lot of other great wrestling content, check out WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com.
Hey, it's the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. Now I'm inviting all of y'all to join me on my brand new podcast, Turning Up the Heat with the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. So what are you waiting for? Come on over and join me. I'll be covering all the events of the day, global, national, pop culture, movies, gaming, whatever sounds interesting. But I'll also be playing some awesome skating shuffle music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Anything that has a good beat, I'm going to be playing it. You can rest assured. Come on over, TUTHradio.com. The podcast is on every major podcast platform. See you then.
So that was in 97, roughly. Now I do see in 06 you end up in where were you all working between working for Bert and working for Tony? Let's build that to getting to the USWO. Where were you all working during those times?
Well, we worked for TJ. Well, you could be talking about Tony there too, because Tony, I think TJ come in under Tony.
Okay.
Man, we would we did some Terry Ross shows.
Okay.
Go up to Kentucky. We'd work for Tony up in Paducah.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve, that working for Tony and them before USWO, wasn't it called New South?
New South.
I think so.
Yep, that's it.
On Woodland Street.
Yeah. New South.
He started. Didn't he start at the Excalibur Gym? Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. It's crazy. I've learned all this just for doing all these interviews, you know. Yeah. And I also, when you all say Terry Rice so much, I know that that's a miracle to even say that you worked a Terry Rice show, right? So,
well, believe it or not, Terry got Big Scorpion to be his booker. That one of the smartest things he done was to get Big Scorpion, somebody to be a booker.
Right.
So he put together a good card, and Quentin Charisma will tell you better than anybody. Everybody had their role on this card. No matter if you was first match or main event, everybody had a role. And we had a good locker room, and it started building. I mean, it's, you know, the crowd started slowly going. When they brought the Devils in, oh, man, it really took off at that point. It was us and Devils on Friday night in Nashville before we went to Columbia on Saturday. And, of course, with the heat they got, you know, the crowds just started pouring in. And maybe would have set that off. It was actually the Devil and the Moondog was working out on Dixon Road, and they locked the building. So we had to show out in the parking lot under a street light, and the finish was a fireball. It was in a cage match, too. It was kind of, so if you got the Devil with his Halloween music, you're in a dark parking lot with one street light.
Yeah.
And in a cage match, you know what I mean? Just kind of spooky. And then the fireball lit up the whole place, and, man, I think Terry Rice's show just took off from that.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I just know so many times that people say that his shows have been canceled, and yeah, that's.
Oh, there was no doubt he had a lot of shows canceled, but that's when he started taking off. That's
okay.
I think it was that night. I think that night really started his climb. So,
cool.
Probably the best thing ever happened to him was being locked out of that building, I think.
Yeah, and he had a good run for a while, and then when whatever happened, everything started falling off. Then he'd book a show and then cancel, and then book. His run was pretty much over at that point.
Yeah.
And his run wouldn't have been over with, but he let somebody else come in and start running the show, and they tried to make it more of an entertainment show than a wrestling show, like what the fans were used to.
Yeah.
So his crowds would go, you know, WA Bass. We was out drawing the fairgrounds.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And so we'd go from 350, and then these new guys come in and started running more like a television show, you know what I mean? And and crowd dropped down to probably 50 to 75, and it just kind of
TV constrains you, right? TV constrains you to stuff, and when you can do like those shows like y'all did that didn't, you know, of course, unfortunately didn't get recorded. Some of them, I'm sure, some of the best matches y'all ever have, nobody will ever see except the people that were in the building.
I don't know. There's a lot of them out there. And the good thing is we had a guy, Randall Fanning. He would almost come to every show and film every show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'd say those matches are out there somewhere. It's just somebody's got to find them.
Brian Turner's on the hunt.
There you go. Absolutely.
Hey, Steve, I gotta go for you. Why don't you tell everybody about the filming the TV shows for the Lee Hickerson up on the mountain?
Oh, well, you want to ride down there, or? we was heading down there. Lee telling us how to get there, get off this exit, take a right, take a left, come up on top of the mountain. So me and Ben's riding down this old curvy road, and we're climbing this little hill. You know, when I say little hill, it wasn't very big. And we get up to the top of this hill, and there's this place just packed full of people. I'm like, well, hell, that ain't it. We ain't on top of the mountain yet.
Yeah.
So we probably passed it, and we started back off the hill. Wait a minute. So we turn around and go back. Sure enough, that little hill, that was the mountain. So that was the ride down there. It's not a mountain. I guess in Alabama, it's considered mountains is flat, but
yeah, it's a big hill.
Yeah, we were the baby faces at that point. But I think Lee had a good thing going. He had the right idea. Lee was a smart guy too. The one thing I remember, that's when we decided to come back in trunks. We'd put on our fat boy clothes, and we was down there, didn't know anybody. It's like, hey, we're breaking the trunks back out. We're gonna get back in them. And then my wife and his girlfriend at the time says, hell, y'all don't look no different y'all did 10 years ago. So I think we went back to trunks for a little bit.
Okay. Now, that's a great question, because y'all had good bodies, y'all were in shape, but man, what is it like going to trunks? Because man, I mean, that was always one thing. Even as a kid, I was like, man, if I'm ever going to be Sting or the Road Warrior, I'm going to wear them long tights and hide. And you know, how was it? I mean, that's a different kind of confidence you got to have, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is your self-confidence.
Yeah.
And you're self-conscious of what are these people looking, what are they thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't wear them at first. Ben had already transitioned to trunks before I started.
Yeah.
And so he was used to it. I wasn't, so I wore the shorts. And it was probably somewhere like that. I finally just put them on and started wearing them, and the people didn't laugh at me, so I kept wearing them. Maybe that's what it just took me getting out there. Because, you know what I mean? That's what was going through my mind. What are these people going? They're going to look at my fat butt and a pair of drawers.
Right.
And what's this guy doing? So I think my self-conscious kept me from wearing them for a while. And then once I started wearing them, the confidence was better.
Okay. You got to have some good calves, I think. You know, the calves got to be there. Y'all feel like y'all had some good calves, fellas?
I don't.
Mine wasn't my calves. It was my thighs. I had really big thighs, and they told me to stop covering up my thighs, that I needed to show them. So.
Okay. Yeah. I think Bill Dundee told you that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I've always wondered that, so I'm glad y'all answered that. That's so in 06 in the USWO, this is actually some of my favorite stuff I've seen is the heel turn, you know, was continuing on, and you're working for Tony, and you start working a program with Eric Andrews and Boogie. And man, I mean, those are some great matches. I would love to hear about that feud.
Well, the good thing about at that point in time, we turned heel. We had been taught by the best.
Right.
And so being a heel to me, was kind of easy because we knew, you know, the babyface needs a chase. Babyface don't need his hand raised every night. Heat is what puts butts in the seats. And of course, Gary's the ultimate seller. Right. He's going to sell, I mean, something on the forehead. He's going to sell it like you just, you know, shot him or something. So to me, that was easy. That's what makes a good angle. Is the babyface will sell for the heel, and the heel can get them heat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a formula, right? I mean, it's the beautiful formula. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you enjoy working Eric and Boogie, though? I mean, as far as like, how did you feel you all matched up with them?
Oh, I thought it was good. We got to do some good wrestling. Yeah. And then, of course, a good heat. Yeah. And they would sell, and they would take it, and, you know, and then we'd just have a good finish to if we was coming back, we'd pull a screw or we'd do something to where we came back next week. But I thought we had pretty good chemistry with them. I thought it was good.
Yeah. And I would love to hear this one too. I think this just brings up a good question. Working Boogie, your first match, to working Boogie now, or working Gary Scott, your first match, to working Gary Valiant now. How did you change as far as how did you feel about? And I'm sure you'd worked him before that, and I guess, but from the beginning to now, are you feeling like, man, I know Gary, I know how to work with Gary. How's that?
Yeah. Well. The first two matches I had with him was a babyface match.
Right.
Both babyface.
Right.
So that's a little different in itself.
Sure.
But now, I think now working with Gary, which it's been so long since I worked, really. But I think it's like riding a bicycle. I mean, he kind of knows what we want to do, and we kind of know what he would want to do.
Yeah.
So I think we go off like clockwork.
Yeah. Yeah, I managed Shane Morton against Boogie in a cage match in Millersville, and we're in the back, and Shane, the match is over. Shane's a crimson mask, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. I was like, "How's that, man?" He was like, "Night off," and as he said, "Night off," the blood is like blowing from his mouth. You know what I mean? And I'm like, "That's a night off." I love that. So that just, I mean, you know, we know Shane represents Columbia Wrestling as well as anybody, but it's just funny to me to show that the blood y'all were so comfortable with, you know, and then night off. Boogie's a night off, you know. So
yeah, a lot of guys we worked to me was a night off. I mean, we'd get some guys come in. Sometimes it wasn't our normal crew, and sometimes that wouldn't be a night off. But most of the time, you know, Boogie, the Devils, and you know the Bruise Brothers, all them guys were nights off. It was easy.
Steve, you said that the Bruise Brothers. You know, we just lost a brother of ours, Hot Rod Biggs, and now and everybody knew we had feuds with the Devils, but we had a lot of good matches with a lot of people, and particularly like the Bruise Brothers. Talk about that, folks.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a different style match, of course. You know, it wasn't the hardcore beating each other up. It was more of a wrestling, and they had good heat. And you know, they'd get up there and they'd take all our double bumps and do all that, and we'd give them a good heat, and we'd have a good finish. I mean, those guys were
they were right on the spot.
they might be their top 5 definitely of the teams I think we've worked and had good matches with. Maybe even third.
Yeah,
behind the Devils and probably the Hickersons.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's big. That's high praise.
Yeah.
And I wish Wolfie and Jamie would have been around a little longer. I think we'd have had good matches with them too.
Oh, that would have been incredible.
And we did a couple matches, but they were like at spot shows. We weren't in feuds with them.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. We'd never know angles. That's what I'm saying. If we could have gotten a good angle with them, I think that could have been right up there with the best of them.
Yeah, man, I'm thinking about that right now. I can't, like Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express. You could have really turned something out with that, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. That's unfortunate. You know, talk about Hot Rod real quick, Steve. What were you, man, such a passionate guy, you know, such an intelligent, passionate guy.
Yep. Rod was always good to us.
Yeah.
I never really knew him have heat with anybody, which I don't think we had heat with anybody either, but he was fun to work, fun to be around, really. I mean, there was times we'd get back from shows and instead of going to the bar, we'd go over to Rod's and drink, 5 or 6 beers before we went home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, he was fun to be around. I don't know if you've heard this, but me and Ben's got a good funny story on Rod too, if you want to hear it.
Please, I would love to hear that.
All right, so we're working on a Friday night in McMinnville, which is about an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute drive maybe.
Okay.
And, and I got to work Saturday at my shoot job. Yeah. So I usually get up around 4:30 to go to work. So we get there and we tell Randall and Steve Bryant, hey, man, I got to work early tomorrow. Can we get on early? Well, if Rod shows up, y'all can go on early. We're working Rod and Tony.
Yeah.
Well, Rod is used to being main event up there, so he didn't roll in until about 9 o'clock. So this whole time, me and Ben gets Tony Fall. I said, here's what we're going to do, Tony. And Rod had the crowd. It was a heel crowd.
Right.
They loved Rod.
Yeah.
So we're like, we're going to just take over on Rod from the get-go and do a heat on him. And when he comes to tag, don't you tag him in. We're going to blow his butt up. And we did. And we did a heat. We did a heat on Rod as babyface to start the match. And Rod, he was sucking wind so bad, we had him so blowed up. So finally, when it's time to get the actual heat, we let him tag Tony in. We tell Tony to get the heat on us. Rod couldn't do nothing because he's over there sucking wind to about the end of the match.
Yeah.
To me, that was pretty, I guess maybe you had to be there to see it, but I thought it was funny.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
Well, I guess he learned his lesson.
Show up.
We blew him up again in Millersville. He was a special referee or something like that. And he was like, it's going to be easy referee, and I won't get blowed up. Me and Ben were like, okay. So we blew his butt up. And we were the actual heels, and we were so in and out, and he was trying to chase us, and we blew him up that night too. But overall, Rod was a great guy. I do like Rod. Never had no problems with Rod. Fun to work, fun to be around.
Yeah, great guy. Now, there were some pictures Ben sent me the other day. It looks like maybe y'all are staying at a hotel or something, and there was a picture he sent, right, and it's like you're sitting in the bed like you're sitting up from asleep, right? And I said, and now I said this to Ben in the text. I'm not trying to put bad things on you, Steve, but as Hot Rod and Ben are sitting right there, and they look like they might be fully clothed, but you look like you might be half asleep. And I was like, well, who's sitting on the girl beside him? And Ben was like, don't say that. Do you remember me saying that, Ben?
Oh, yeah, I do. And Steve, do you remember that? That was a New Year's Eve.
Okay, right. Right there at White Bridge Road.
Yes.
That hotel?
Yep, that was it. And what happened is we just had a party earlier, and then the after party, you and Tina, I think, had already went to bed, and then I guess me and Rob, we want to go wake you up and get you back in the game. So we go beating the door and get in there. And,
that might be what it was, man. Y'all may have come try to get me back up. I'm not sure.
We're going to let you have a comeback.
Yeah, you got to kick out, man. You got to kick out. Oh, man. That's funny.
Good times. Good times.
Yeah. What year, roughly what year was that, Ben, off just your top of your head?
Dang. It was 2007, 2001, 7, something like that.
Okay, gotcha. One of those.
Me and Tina got married in 95, so I know it was after that.
Okay, so this was your wife. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
It was probably early on. It might have been 2001, maybe, or
yeah.
I'm bad with the years.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that it was a random girl. I was saying that.
No. She knows my past.
We won't get into that on this podcast. Okay, right, that'll be another one. So that'll be the next one we do. Is we at the reunion, we'll just have Steve sitting there talking about his past. I'm just kidding. So in 2009, it looks like y'all start working for Terry England and UCW, and it looks like y'all had a good little run there working with JD Thunder and Randall Shane. Talk about that.
Yep, we did. Actually, I think that's when we first come back. We was out for, I don't know, maybe a year or two, and my work had got a little slow.
Okay.
So I called Ben up and said, Ben, let's get some bookings, man. I just, for a month or two, you know what I mean, just to get me by.
Sure.
And somehow Terry England got a hold of us, and it may have been through Gary, but he started wanting to book stuff there all the time. Well, this 1 or 2 month run ended up lasting about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not all with Terry England, but a good run was with Terry, and he was booking us all the time up there in Kentucky.
On those big shows too, the Caverna, Horse Cave, whatever they are, shows. They're legendary. You've heard of them. And talk about JD Thunder and Randall Shane, if you don't mind.
JD Thunder was a good little worker. And we had some good matches with him. The other guy I don't remember that well.
Okay.
Maybe if I saw a picture of him, it might jar my memory. But J.D. Thunder was a good little baby face, a little hometown kid from Kentucky. He was over, so it was easy for us as heels.
Yeah.
He was a night off too. He was easy to work too.
That's awesome. Now, I see a name, and I'm trying to hunt him down for a podcast episode, but I see a name pop up that's a legendary name, especially from Kentucky, especially ICW. Tommy Heggie has history with him. Doug Vines. I would love. How was your interactions with Doug?
Oh man, I'm having a brain fart here.
It's okay.
I remember the person. Like I said, I'd have seen the pictures. It's been a long time ago.
Yeah, I understand. Ben, what do you remember about?
I remember Doug Vines specifically. I don't think we ever done any matches. If we did, I forgot that one. But talk about somebody that's really experienced, been around, and was so knowledgeable and would give you really good advice. And he was a nice, humble guy, but you knew not to mess with him.
Yeah. George Weingroff tells a funny story about him taking Doug Vines down to Mid-South and Randy Savage just losing his mind about it. You're taking my company away, brother, So
let's switch forward a few years. Let's talk about working Crossfire. We did some Crossfire shows and then go into how we really got into the SAW, the SAW for old buddy TJ.
Well, we TJ knew we was working for Tony out at the Excalibur gym.
Yeah.
And TJ was sitting in the crowd one week. And, he was there a lot. Well, the next week he was in the dressing room. Somehow he got put in the match with us. So. All right, so I did lay one in on him. God rest his soul. I hit him with, I think it was a Halliburton or something. I hit him pretty hard.
Yeah.
But anyway, he grew to like us for some reason. I don't know. We beat the crap out of him, but he really grew to like us. He respected us a lot. I always wanted to book us. We was on any show we ever wanted with him.
Yeah.
So then we go from there. I'm sorry, Ben. Where was our next spot? I remember the Saw.
Yeah, Crossfire. You worked some for Marcus Pistorius.
Okay. I think wasn't Crossfire what they did at the fairgrounds. Am I wrong on that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we was actually working for TJ at Saul in Millersville with the Weatherbys.
Okay.
And we was always big believer because we was baby faces. Baby faces got a chase, just like we said earlier.
Right.
Heel gets the heat. Baby face don't need a belt. You know what I mean? That's not what puts butts in the seat. So
right.
They come in and they wanted this thing. They's like, all right, we're gonna put the belts on y'all, and we said y'all put them on whoever you want to. We don't care. But if you're gonna put them on us, you're gonna leave them on us for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we got to make them mean something. So we do this whole thing with the Weatherbys. Great little workers, and had good houses, good matches. So then the Crossfire comes in, and we're going to be on. They had 2 shows. They had like a pre-show kind of 2 or 3 matches, 4 matches. We was going to work the Weatherby's for the belts, and then we was going to be on the main show with Tracy Smothers, the Moondog. There was a couple of them, but so that one story, Bill Dundee's there, and he asked Benny, he goes, "Benny, who y'all working?" So he pointed over at the Weatherby's. He's like, "The hell are y'all going to do with them little guys?" Of course, Ben's like, "All right, we just got the showing." So we go out there and have, a great match. It was nonstop. It was like a TV match. It was no rest holds, nonstop.
Yeah.
Just continually going. It ended up being a good match. It was a great house. That might be, other than the WCW, that's the biggest house I ever worked in front of.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely turned out big crowds there. Yeah. Working the Weatherby's, man, I have a huge, TJ gave me a chance when really I didn't think I deserved a chance. And the Weatherby boys, I've got to know them just from working in the locker rooms with them. And man, those guys, I know they love the business, and Kevin, I know, loves it as much as anybody. But again, I remember seeing those matches. I remember watching those, and I think it was cool to see. You never really want to say like an ultimate passing of the torch, but you all were kind of saying, "Hey guys, y'all belong," and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, well, and they was over with the crowd, So I mean, it was
right.
It was needed. They needed to take those reins. They needed to take that step and be the ultimate babyface, and they did.
Yeah.
And actually, before them, it was TJ and Chris Baum. We worked them too, and they was over with the crowd. And I don't remember if TJ may have had some health problems and got out, and Chris got out, and they was next in line with that. So, but they took it, man. They did whatever we said. It didn't, if we're saying we're going to beat the crap out of y'all and leave your lane, then they was like, okay,
let's do it.
No problems. And we would always do what was best for the show. If we need to slip them over and get a heat back on them to come back next week, or, we would do that stuff to them too. But there was times they took a good beating for us.
Yeah,
but it was
cool.
Good. That's what the show needed. And they took it. They was okay with it.
That's awesome. Well, it's come to the time of the show, Mr. Neely, that we ask a couple quick, simple questions. Okay. Hopefully makes you think a little bit, but would you like to, is it okay if we ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
All right. We'll be right back. DJ, hit the music. All right, we're back with quick questions and Steve Neely, special guest host Ben Jordan. My very first one I always ask is, what is some advice that the Steve Neely now would give the younger Steve Neely?
Man, that's what Ben told me. Go in the locker room, keep your mouth shut, do what you're told.
Okay.
Respect the veterans. That's one thing these new guys got to learn. Respect the veterans.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Okay, so the next one, this might tie into what I just asked you, but what are some of when you were working and you guys were working every night and it was probably the busiest time of your whole career, what would you say at that point, or even now, what are some of your wrestling pet peeves? What just irks you about it?
I think the biggest pet peeve was when the Attitude Era came.
Okay.
Because things started changing, you know what I mean? The heels wanted to be over, and they wanted to be the fans to like them and beat everybody up. And that's not what sold tickets. That's not how I was taught, not how I was brought in, not how I was my first several years as a babyface. It's not the way it was. That's my biggest one.
Yeah.
I'd love to see somebody go in and do an old school match and just see if it would actually still get over with. I think it would.
I guarantee it would. When they mess with the formula, it's like, and I'm not knocking people. Hey, Hollywood people do their little plastic surgery, but you ever see somebody that, like, let's say Burt Reynolds or Kenny Rogers or somebody, and you're like, hey, these guys are cool, man. And then they go get all that plastic surgery and they mess up their face and they never look the same. It's the same as what you just said. When you mess with the formula, it throws everything off, and they never look, and it never is the same, and it's a simple formula, but it's a very important formula. And
yes, absolutely.
when you mess with that, it's not as good. But okay, so the last quick question I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to pitch it to the very special co-host today, is if you could have a pause button on your life right now or a rewind button on your life, what would you have?
Oh, wow. Man, that's a tough question. I'm probably going to say, at this point in my life, probably a pause.
Okay. Okay.
And the reason I say that is because I'm proud of the things that me and Ben got to do, the things we did.
Yeah.
So if we rewind that, we might mess something up. It might not go as well.
Right.
So, and I'm like I said, I'm proud of what we done. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change my wrestling career for anything. Yeah. I didn't have to have the big runs. Looking back on it now, used to, we wanted that USWA run, but now looking back on it, and I was happy doing independence.
Yeah. 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 That's cool, man. That's cool. And I think, dude, I think I always hear people say the rewind button, but what that tells me right there is that you're content. You can look back and say, man, we did it. We did what we did. And I'm content with that. And that shows a lot about you, man. I think that says a lot about who you are, actually.
Well, I mean, there's no sense of going back if you think things went well. And I think things went well for us.
That's the best answer ever, Ben. What do you think about that, man?
Hey, I'm in total agreement, man. I would change nothing. It was great. We had a great time. I had a great partner. Hey, I'm satisfied. Yeah. So many people say, I want to do it all again. And, but that's a great perspective. Let's just pause things right now. Enjoy our later life. I like that. All right. Well, at the end of every show, and thank you so much for being on the show with us today, Mr. Steve Neely, but we always pivot to the Plastic Sheik's second favorite question. But of course, he's somewhere getting a sunburn, suntan, whatever. So I brought in the very special guest host, Ben Jordan. Ben, take this final question for Steve. Okay. And we'll tell you, Jimmy, this seat here I'm sitting in fits me pretty good. So
I like it.
It'll be hard to get me out of it. But, now, Steve, we already know who your favorite partner of all time is. We know that.
Yep.
Right. The question I got for you is, do you have a favorite match that you could tell us was your favorite match?
Man, we had so many good ones with the Devils. It's obviously going to be a Devils match.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm going to say, because they was all, man, I can't think of a bad one we ever had with them. So I'm going to go old school, the very first time we ever worked them.
Wow. Okay.
That's great. It's great.
I would love to hear about the story of that first match, if you don't mind.
Well, of course, I was scared to death. It was my third match ever.
Yeah.
And we're in a street fight, and of course, going and watching Ben and them, that's when Billy and Gary was working the Devil. So I'd watch Ben's match early, and I'd see them later on. And
yeah,
man, they were so vicious, and they were so, you know what I mean? They're like, God, they're gonna kill that guy. And then next thing you know, I'm like booked against them. I'm like, oh shit, what am I doing? but that first night, I know that first night, and I was trying not to hurt anybody. I didn't know how those matches go. And Cool Breeze just looked me right there in the eye and says, hit me harder, kid. So I hit him harder. Evidently, it wasn't hard enough. So I hit him again harder. And finally, I think I got to where it was hard enough.
Yeah.
But then I learned that night, okay, this is how these matches are going to go.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And I mean, you know, guys, if you want to go back and listen to our podcast we had with these two gentlemen and the Devils and the Mortons, we had a great interview at the Right Way reunion at the Muletown Mania Fan Fest. Hope we get to do another one of those in the future. Definitely go back and check that out, where we had everybody together talking about that great feud. But I love hearing about those days, and I love hearing about that feud. And the best people to do it with are the guys that were in it, like you gentlemen today. Steve, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. We got to get you back on for part 2, or maybe we'll just do the Wild Boys or something. But we definitely appreciate you all very much for coming on, and thank you so much, Steve.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. Had a blast. Ben, I'll see you when you get back. Love you, brother.
I love you, brother.
All right. Y'all take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Shane from Insane Shane's World. I release wrestling figures of enhancement talent, mid-card wrestlers, and wrestlers that you never thought would have a figure available. So if you're interested in adding a really cool and rare figure to your collection, then don't hesitate to contact me at shamtheman73@gmail.com. That's SHAMtheman73@gmail.com. You can also join my Facebook group. Just search Insane Shane's World.
This is your rock star ring announcer, Aaron Camaro. I'm a man who believes the two greatest art forms ever created are professional wrestling and heavy rock music. So when I'm not hosting the best parties that also happen to be live professional wrestling shows, I'm hosting the Decibel Geek Podcast. Decibel Geek is a weekly podcast that features discussions of all things rock. We're talking the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, Kiss, Ozzy, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Alice in Chains, Pantera, and everything in between. Plus, we'll turn you on to new bands from today that have the same spirit and style that the legends do. Decibel Geek is hosted by myself along with Rockin' Pod founder Chris Sinzak, and each week you'll get interviews with famous musicians and industry insiders along with informative, entertaining, humorous, and insightful discussions, and most importantly, a passion for the music. So if you love to rock out as much as I do, then this is your invitation to the greatest rock and roll party in all of podcasting. It's Decibel Geek, and it's available right now on all major podcast platforms. Oh yeah.
Oh, Sheik. Well, you weren't there, so what can I say? But that was an awesome interview. And thank you so much to Ben Jordan for coming in and being an excellent co-host, being exactly what I needed. Really, man, you know, Ben, you made this episode even better than I expected. So thank you, first off, for filling in for my brother, the Plastic Sheik, while he was on vacation. But second of all, Steve Neely, man. What a great, and you know, we've had him on the show. I've had him on the Wolfie show. We've had him on our show in the round table discussion there at the Fan Fest. But man, I tell you, it's like Steve's got such a cool story too, and to hear it from his perspective on so many of the Wild Boys deals, and you know, him ranking his top 3 teams, the Devils, the Hickersons, and the Bruise Brothers. And we talked about Hot Rod. I can't wait for you to hear it, Sheik. I'm excited.
I mean, I'm just feeling my FOMO build up even more and more and more.
I'm so sorry.
I just want to tell Ben, you know, I'm like, don't let that seat get too comfortable for you, brother.
Oh man,
no, I appreciate you filling in for me, Ben. I appreciate it, man. You're awesome. You and Steve both are awesome. I appreciate how cool you were to us at the reunion, and you know, man, I think we got friends for life, man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. But go check out the Wolfie D podcast. Of course, that's Ox Harley. We talk all about the fight at IWA Mid-South. We talk about it more in depth than I've ever heard. Wolfie and he have never talked about it together. So y'all go check that one out. Of course, we've got the Tracy Smothers tribute episode coming up on Monday. Very excited for everyone to hear that. We got a lot of cool people to come on. Ben Jordan came on that to talk about it. Buzzed Up, Jeremiah Plunkett, a lot of our old friends came on to talk about their old friend Tracy. It's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be funny, but it'll also shed some tears. I mean, I hope it's a good tribute to the man Tracy Smothers. It's very important that be, his legacy. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, do you have anything else you'd like to say before we?
Do you want to just mention the finally the debut of the Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead and bring that in.
I thought that was a very cool moment at the end of Raw with Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six, or however you say that, SICKS.
Yeah.
I thought that was I didn't know I needed that naming the way it was, but I think it's very cool the way, but now you can kind of understand why they weren't utilized. Dexter Loomis, I know you're always
talking to him. Yeah.
Glad to see him out there and see him getting maybe some sort of push with this group. And definitely. I don't know. I kind of expect Alexa Bliss will be member number 6 if there is truly a member 6.
Yeah. Do you think she's going to be what was sister?
Well, people were saying that Nikki Cross was Sister Abigail, but I don't know that she was the puppet. They were all represented the puppets except Uncle Howdy,
right?
Because Dexter was the buzzard and Eric Rowan was the rabbit, and
is it Joe Gacy? Is that who it was?
Joe Gacy as Huskus.
Yeah, Joe Gacy. And I assume that Alexa Bliss will be in here soon, and very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Nikki Cross was Abby the Witch, I think was the puppet's name. So
okay, that makes sense. Well, she was very
so is that Sister Abby, or will Alexa Bliss maybe be the Fiend? I don't know.
You never know. That could be for sure.
But I thought they looked really cool. I mean, I hope they, listen, I know WWE ain't listening to me or whatever like that, but they just need to wreak havoc, basically. They just need to scare people and everything like that. They don't need a title on them right away.
Right.
So don't mess anything up by getting them in the title picture and messing everything like that up. I mean, they're going to be an attraction on their own if you do it right. And
exactly. Yeah. Let them be monsters. And let's flesh that story out a little. And I agree.
Yeah. But I thought it was a very cool moment, and hey, we can hope they do it right,
Yeah, I feel like it'll be. I mean, it's got a great start. Very cool tribute, and happy for them,
And Bo Dallas's glove said Bray on it.
Yeah.
If you didn't see that was cool. So.
That was cool. It was just all cool little tribute to his brother. And man, it gets him another run. It gets all of them out there and doing something and in his honor, man. I mean, that's awesome, So
yeah. And I think he probably even had some input on this before he passed and everything like that. Who was going to be with him? I could be wrong, but I think probably some of these people were going to be with him anyway.
I like it. Well, hopefully it'll turn out as awesome as it has started, for sure. And I look forward to more from them very soon, man. So
absolutely, me too.
But as always, keep us in your mind at GMBMPW, Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube. Man, that YouTube thing, we need y'all. Keep subscribing, keep following, keep listening. Apple, Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. Give us a review. Say something about us. We definitely appreciate that too. And we just thank y'all so much. We do have a new t-shirt on our Pro Wrestling Tees. So follow the link in the description of this episode to that. And you can see our brand new t-shirt. It's a little vintage style that I worked on and very happy with. And hopefully everybody likes it too and they want to buy one. So
absolutely, man.
Yeah. But other than that, I think that's all we got for today, Sheik.
It sounds good. I'm going to listen to this episode right away.
Yeah. You're going to love it. I promise.
Sounds good to me, brother.
All right. We'll see y'all next time on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Don't forget,
wild boys always shine.
With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest moment in my life. This has been a James Rock Street production.